Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, Vinnie Viola, Birch Island Real Estate Consulting. I was at the KHIC conference in Greensboro this week, and along with a great panel, we presented on the average income set aside for tax credit projects. And great panel, great discussion, great conference, in fact. And we ran out of time and weren't able to demonstrate this spreadsheet. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you now. I'll post it on social media and forward it to the KHIC conference attendees. So here's my demonstration of the average income set aside. I'm trying to be practical with it. Obviously, the industry knows we're still waiting, maybe hoping for some additional guidance from the IRS on specifics of non-compliance, but we get there with this spreadsheet, and I'll share my bias on how I think average income works. But so here we are. We have an owner that's building a 100% tax credit project. It's going to be 16 units, and there'll be a distribution of units at 30, 60, 70, and 80% AMI in one building. They're all one-bedroom units. So the owner is designating the project as such. 30, we'll go through this step by step, okay? This is what the owner says he's going to build. 4 of each, right? So let's get there in no particular order. They're all one bedrooms. They're all in one building. We have one project here. You can see how our average designation is changing, but ultimately we get to 60. We get to 60%. Let's see, 0.7, 0.6, and then 0.3. So there's our 60% average. The owner's designated 16 units, 4 of each. There's lots of different combinations you could use, obviously, to get to some average set aside. Now, in my mind, this is kind of etched in stone. This is what will go into the extended use agreement, that we're going to have 4 in each AMI tier, 4 units in each of the 4 tiers. In my mind, those units aren't designated specifically. In other words, I believe we could float the designations if we needed to. So we've passed our average test. The owner's going to build this. Management will lease it up this way. And at the end of the day, we'll have 16 units. Let's move down here. There seems to be some disagreement in the industry over how this works now in terms of compliance. Some folks say there's a cliff. In other words, someone comes out and audits my files, and one of these 30% units is out of compliance, right? Some folks would say, uh-oh, our average just went to 62%. We failed. In my mind, no. And I think there's enough folks out there that would agree with me. I don't think the code says recompute your average. That's a big discrepancy we have here in the industry right now, in the tax credit industry. Do we need to recompute our average? And did, in fact, we fail? I say no. I say once you've made your designation, it's there, and that's what you're dealing with. So look, though, because let me do this. We're currently at 100% applicable fraction, right? 100% tax credit project. But as our units, let's say the HFA came out and inspected us and found non-compliance at year end. Note, we've got 4 units out of compliance. We're still achieving our minimum set aside because at least 40% of our units are at their designated set aside, right? At least 40%. That's, in my mind, the requirement. Right now, our applicable fraction is decreased to 75% because at year end we said 4 of our units are out of compliance. But what if it wasn't 4? What if it was, let's say, not 8, not 9, not 10? How about this? All of a sudden, we've got 10 of our units that are out of compliance, our applicable fraction dropped dropped to 0.3750. No longer do we have 40% of our units at or below the designation. Are we meeting the minimum set aside? No. This, in my mind, if you want to call it a cliff, is a cliff. But as my friend at the Franklin Johnson Group, Marie Peace, would say, wow, if you're operating a tax credit project and you've got this number of units out of compliance, you've probably got bigger problems on your hand. Anyway, this is the average income set aside. In my mind, I guess you'd call me a literalist when it comes to the code. We're still waiting on regs from IRS on exactly how this works. In the interim, state HFAs are moving forward with their developer partners and others to try and carve out in the QAP and in their compliance manuals, how they see this program working. And of course, every manual and every footnote says subject to change pending IRS clarification or guidance. So that's it. This is my mind, the average income test. I'm Vinnie Viola, principal of Birch Island Real Estate Consulting. Give me a call if you want to discuss this spreadsheet. Email me. Be happy to take your questions. I wish you all the best. Thanks. Bye-bye.